Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming News. Today is the 29th of January 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be your host for this evening. Today we don't really have much to talk about. There was honestly nothing that interesting happening in the gaming industry today, apart from one single piece, which is an analyst, actually an analyst from a bank, talking about the future of microtransactions in his opinion. So let's take a look at it. The analyst name is Doug Kreutz. He's from an investment banking firm called Coven, and I think his points are pretty straightforward. He's essentially arguing about a backlash the communities had against loot boxes in Star Wars Battlefront and games like Destiny 2, recently in Ghost Recon Wildlands, Rainbow Six Siege, and many others, to be honest. And what he's saying is that he thinks publishers in the future will be less aggressive about pushing microtransactions. And I just really wish it was that case. But with the recent study from GDC claiming that 11% of developers are planning to make games with loot boxes in them, it makes me sort of skeptical. Especially if on GDC we've probably seen tons and tons of indie devs presenting their small games, which, well, those games just don't have any right to put loot boxes in them. As why would you do that to a game where you already have a small audience? And having loot boxes these days probably means losing quite a bit of your audience or potential audience. But in the end, it's like, I'm really hoping this analyst just is correct. That's literally all I can say about this. I can say a little bit what he said more. We suspect that 2018 will see a pullback on industry attempts to aggressively drive growth as a result. He's mentioning microtransactions. But sadly, I'm really doubtful about that. If you guys remember, a few weeks ago we talked about a chart that showed how much profit are publishers making off of different kinds of sales. And the profits made through microtransactions have been literally at least the double of what they make through normal sales. But also, you need to remember, he's not saying that microtransactions will just vanish. He just thinks they will be pushed less aggressively, which I'm sort of hoping means that companies will want to make, at the very least, loot boxes go away and make the rest of the systems that allow them to monetize their games a bit more human. Yeah, I think that's the good word here. As currently, some of the systems put into games, especially by the big companies like EA, Activision, etc., are almost predatory, you know? It's just something I wish the gaming industry didn't have to go through, but obviously gaming is still a relatively young industry compared to music, compared to movies, compared to books. This is still a very young industry, and even though it's been here for decades, it is only now actually growing into a very mainstream thing. Just 10 years ago, if you said you were playing video games, you were probably looked down upon. Right now, if you say I play video games, everybody like, yeah, I play them sometimes too. Even my dad, he plays like 3 or 4 hours of video games a day. My mom, she used to play a few games. She doesn't play anymore because, well, she prefers to read and lie in bed today. But, you know, even my mother used to play video games at just 4 years ago. And as the gaming audience will just become to be more mature, more and more average people will be playing games, which will inevitably bring the government into gaming. We talked about this a bit in yesterday's podcast, where Tiger was arguing against the loot box gambling bill introduced by a Washington state senator, because his argument was, well, we already have regulation in many industries, and gaming has so far been pretty free of regulation. Let's keep it that way. My opinion is, I agree in principle with him. I think it's an unrealistic goal. The government will come to the gaming industry, maybe not really soon, but it will come sometime. And the bigger question is how we will make it regulate the gaming industry. Will it regulate it in a way that will make it really hard for indie devs to make games? That would suck. That would suck totally balls. But if we make it that especially the big ass companies cannot use predatory tactics to essentially extract money from especially children, I think that's a fair deal for having the government involved in our beloved industry. I don't know about you guys, I love the gaming industry. I love it to bits. But the thing is, right now, it is the Wild West. Anybody can do anything, and most of the time they will be able to get away with it unless the community rebels against it. And there are only a few specific big titles that will actually have the community rebel against it. This happened especially in Star Wars, as the Star Wars brand, one of the biggest brands in the world, was slapped onto the game. You know, it could have been just any regular sci-fi shooter, and 99% of people wouldn't care. But because it had a Star Wars logo and name, everybody was just, you know, angry to bits, including me. And at a point, there was a point where I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired of it because I just was like, what the fuck are you doing, EA? But you cannot really blame EA for it. They aren't here to make customers' hearts jump with joy. You know, that people sometimes really misunderstand it. The point of these companies is not to make you happy. The point of these companies is to make money. Sometimes they make money by making you happy, and if that happens, then it's a win-win situation for both parties. That's what business should ideally be about. Sometimes they just give a crap about making money. And EA has been, and several other big publishers have been pushing in that direction in the past years. First it was pre-orders, and there are still pre-orders, but these days most people know to avoid them unless they know 100% they want the game. And I'm hoping the same thing will happen with loot boxes, as people in the gaming sphere, not the gaming industry, just the gaming sphere, you know, gamers, will realize that loot boxes aren't a good mechanic. They aren't just a good way to monetize your games. People will start avoiding them, hopefully. And we really need a push from the gaming community, especially the YouTubers, the influencers. You know, it's there in the word influence, who will influence the gaming audiences to avoid loot box games. Just have people like Total Biscuit, Angry Joe, you know, these high profile gamers say, okay, the game is good, but it has loot boxes in it, you shouldn't buy it. If that happens, that might push publishers into thinking twice whether loot boxes should be in their games. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know today was a bit different because of the lack of news. Sorry about that. Hopefully there will be more, hopefully good things happening in the gaming industry tomorrow. And you know, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up here on YouTube. Maybe subscribe to our channel. If you're watching this on Steam, give it the big like, upload, you know, and follow our blog. Either way, you should leave a comment. What is your opinion on the future of loot boxes? Do you think they will be just everywhere, or will people start to not play games that have loot boxes? You know, leave a comment. And that's just it. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for more gaming news, and see you guys later with more gaming content.